Today's session is by Akash Dubey. I think he needs no introduction, but still, yeah. A little bit about myself. I work at Hewlett Packard Enterprise as information developer and also volunteer for Manage the Docs. Manage the Docs is a community for department heads, aspiring managers, or managers who have direct or lateral responsibility of managing tech writing teams. So a little bit about Akash. Akash works with Microsoft as a principal content manager. He has over 25 years of experience in the field of technical communication with multinationals such as Hewlett Packard, Siemens, Cisco, and AMC. So Akash heads India's largest and oldest community of technical communications and language professionals, the Tech Writers of India, TWIN as we call it. So under the TWIN umbrella, Akash was instrumental in starting India's most economical training program, which is called TCP, which is Technical Communication Profession for aspiring technical writers. He participates in many national and international panel discussions on leadership and project management challenges in emerging economies. So he has made several presentations on API documentation, Alexa-based help, and content management systems at regional and national conferences and learning sessions. He founded MTD with Sandhya and Asha with Leanne's support. So, what do you, Akash?
Cool. Thank you. Thanks for the introduction. I didn't feel like it's me, or it feels like I am dating myself by mentioning so many things around what all I've done and since how long I've been working in this industry. So once again, thank you everybody for joining the session. I know a lot of us, and this started, I'm just giving some background about why we thought of this session. It's been a while since we conducted the leadership series session under MTD, Manage the Docs. So I think it was Asha who reached out to us and we were just discussing that, hey, a lot of us kind of feel a little concerned for right reasons about whether AI, which is the buzzword since last 2 years or so, is really going to eliminate writing jobs. Is it really going to happen? So it does look like a valid question because the first thing that GPT-based AI tools started doing was actually generating content, right? People started using chat and essentially it was generating content. So that's what caught my attention as well when I was looking at how this technology is evolving. And now anybody who has an idea can draw, can write, and can write well. Whether it is hallucinated writing, is it accurate? That's all secondary, but can write, right? So what happens when maybe the dev team or the engineers are able to, or product managers are able to really write um, professional content, right? Something that can be easily published as tech docs. Probably some of the startups are doing it already. It's possible given the budget and given the tools that are easily available, and you can quickly, with vibe coding, bring out a product. Maybe a lot of people are going to do that. So, given all that context, what should be our strategy to stay relevant? That's what we thought it would be a good discussion. I'm not an AI guru in any way. I'm not guru in the first place. That's the thing to sort of mention, that this is a session where we can collectively arrive at some of the things that can help us, because the collective experience in the room would be in hundreds of years. And that's what matters. So keep this session interactive. I will share a few data points, tips, things that I have seen based on the experience. But I'm eager to learn from others as to what y'all are seeing in your area, in your companies, things that y'all are experimenting with and have had success with, especially in the field of AI, and even convincing the senior leaders about our value. So we will look at that in a bit. Let me share my screen with the. Let me do this and we can get started. Hopefully you all can see the screen now.
We can see.
Perfect. Okay. So yeah, I mean, like I mentioned, this session is more about what should be our strategy to stay relevant in given the AI context. I had a much longer title earlier. It was you can publish professional procedures, which is just a chat away and blah blah blah, all that. I realized that let's keep it short let's keep it focused and let's get started. Okay, so here's the agenda that I plan to cover today. First, let's look at the incentives of senior leaders. That's very important to know. That gives us the context, that gives us why all this is happening and what we should be doing, especially in this new world of AI. And based on those incentives or how they are going to look at things, what would be the impact on TechDoc teams, right? That's important to understand. Finally, given those challenges that we'll be facing or are facing to some extent, how do we stay relevant and grow in our careers? That's the conversation I would like to have with you all. So before we jump into the incentives of senior leaders, let's just start with more like some data points. Wanted to sort of give you all some stats and trends of AI investments that I've been researching on and seeing, reading about. So the first one on your top left is it talks about the AI investment in 2025 globally. It's 375 billion. It's up by 48%, which is staggering number, right? Right below, you see 500 billion worth of orders received by one company, NVIDIA. Obviously, they are making a unique technology, developing that, and a few others are trying to copy it and giving it competition, but they are still leading the chart. And they've received more than 500 billion worth of orders for various AI chips. Next up is also about like 78% of the organizations, they now have started using AI, right? And this is like up 55% since 2023. Now, how accurate those numbers are, some are coming from McKinsey and Gartner's and other data points, but there is significant uptick. That's the point, right? Whether it is 78%, whether it is lower than that, even if it is not accurate, the point is there's significant uptick. 100 plus billion has been invested by each US and China. That tells you something. And the accurate numbers are there on your screen. 109.1 by US alone, 119.3 billion by China. Now, these are private investments, not the investments that you will see by companies like Google or Microsoft or AWS, because the other large companies, multinationals, the public ones. So these are private investments, but the large multinationals, they have collectively invested in the last 1.5 years, 320 billion. It's not even there on the screen, but that's the data point I was recently reading about, and it is regularly being talked about. So the capex investment from those is significant, right? Even the global VC funding, which you're seeing on screen, stands at 89.4 billion, representing 34% of the overall VC investments in AI-based startups, right? And finally, the last point here is about the McKinsey report, where they talked about that every $1 that's been invested, AI will give back, that's the hope, $3.7, close to 4 times the investment, which essentially reinforces the strategic priority by companies, that they see this as a very, very strategic investment and priority. Now, why is all this important? These numbers and stats, they sort of give you an understanding of how much money is being pumped in by various companies, countries, startups, and so on and so forth, right? What that means is that these companies, these startups, these countries will do everything possible to make AI happen. They will ensure that they get returns on their investment because so much is at stake. And that's what we will see. And that's what we've been seeing, that you are seeing every possible area, anything and everything has been affected by AI. So many tools, so many apps, right? So what I'm trying to say is that they essentially is going to be, when I'm talking about the whole companies, it's essentially at the company's senior leaders who will have to ensure that the companies get maximum bang for their buck. And that's what I'm getting at. That what are senior leaders looking at? Why are they so focused on ensuring that people use AI, they adopt AI, they use it in ways to improve productivity? So that brings me to the next slide, which is about 42% of the executives They expect AI to help speed decision making, either boosting the revenues, efficiency, customer satisfaction, time to market, all of that through various KPIs that they plan to manage. So that's what their goal is now. How does all of these goals impact tech writing teams? Let's look at it. So here's some again another data point that based on the research by Gartner, it's estimated that 60% of content teams will eventually shift at least 30% of what they do in the workload to AI based work based on by 2026. That's the estimate because senior leaders are incentivized to allocate budget towards AI. They will push the content teams or various teams. Content team is just one of the teams, by the way. Every team has been pushed to upskill and to improve productivity by using AI. In fact, I'll take a pause here for a brief second or two to just understand, just to make sure that one, there is interaction and I'm not doing this didactic monologue. More to understand from y'all, if y'all have seen anything where there has been a mandate or a push or that, yeah, these are the things that we've been asked to do. Anything, it would be always good to hear. Either you can come off mute, you can put in chat, anything that you feel you would like to share. Like I said, the collective experience in this room is what would help all of us. And watch the chat for a brief second to see if anybody's posting anything.
I just thought it's interesting that we actually have an AI note taker in this session. Someone is using
Yes.
AI to take notes. Yeah. Yeah, I think definitely
Message,
there's
yeah.
clearly from organizationally there is a push to use AI to, I mean, it's tools are being made available. Maybe a lot of us are still in the experimental stage, but yeah, the push that you mentioned definitely can see that.
Yeah, and I see it also posting use of AI to create a preliminary draft based on the project resources. Purna has posted. There's a trend we all are seeing constant questions around how are we leveraging AI to deliver more faster. Exactly. So true. Right. So thanks for sharing those. Cool. So let's keep moving. So what challenges are we going to face, right? Given what we just discussed. First one is obviously developing AI skills, which people are talking about, right? In some ways, learning this whole new thing that has come up called AI. How do we adopt it? How do we use it? How do we study? What are the and it changes so fast. Every day there is a change. What you learn today is not relevant after a few weeks. So that's how it's moving. It's really moving at a breakneck speed. Teams are expected to sort of learn, adopt within their workflow. In fact, now the stage of experimenting with AI, as you were mentioning, Sandhya, some teams are moving away from that. They're saying it's not just experimenting with AI. That's gone. Companies are now expecting teams to use AI in a very, very meaningful way. Teams should be able to showcase that there was productivity improvement. They are more efficient than before and not just experimenting with AI. That's sort of becoming the goal now. And hey, it's been 2 years. I'm sure you know what needs to be done. So by now, what have you done about it? Those are the kinds of questions that people have been asked. The other challenge that we will face is this content accuracy. That's another big thing. And in fact, it's going to become worse in the new world of AI because developers are now going to be able to create products much faster, right? Also, the content is not just going to be consumed by humans. We are developing content that's going to be consumed and needs to be accurate for AI. A lot of content is going to be actually surfaced through AI bot or a tool or some kind of a mechanism that users are going to be exposed to. So for example, we need to ensure that we label and structure content for all versions accurately. Else AI will happily hallucinate and confidently provide inaccurate information. That's what can happen. So you'll have to really chunk the information accurately and label it so that you know which version that belongs to. So things like those are very important. Another phenomena that we'll be observing, and it's more, And more CEOs are incentivized to let go of people because then they can prove that AI is working. That's in fact has become a bragging right for some of the CEOs. So given that scenario, it's quite likely we will not get a replacement if somebody leaves the company, let alone ever getting a new hire. Think about that. That's another challenge that we are going to face in our teams. Finally, the challenge that will be facing most likely is, and some are already facing for all you know, that um, how do you show value to senior leaders who rely on tangible data to make business decisions? Because it's very hard to measure content effectiveness, sometimes quality. There are definitely ways to measure it. In fact, I'm reading a book called How to Measure Anything. That probably has a copy here. Yeah. Uh, um, it's an interesting book. It helps you understand what are the things that you can measure, even if it is intangible, but there are ways to measure it. But that being the point, we are currently struggling, and most teams do, that how do you come up with those measures for content effectiveness, content quality? So we will see it's today subjective in many cases. So if senior leaders feel that content can be created by somebody who's building the product with minimal editorial guidance or supervision, then maybe fewer writers are required. Then what happens to large teams? I've worked in companies where we've hired almost 60 writers at one point. There are teams where there are hundreds of writers currently. So will they stay in the same state? Don't know. So those are some of the things that we are hearing. In fact, recently, and this is again from a friends information sharing that happened, that 75% of the writing team for one of the large companies, cloud company, they will let go. So these things are happening, right? Then the $1 million question is, which I'll move to next. How do we stay relevant? Right? A lot of doom and gloom, that's what we talked about. I think now let's switch gears and look at the glass half full, or at least pour enough in the glass to make it look half full. So that's what I would say. So let's figure out what are those things that we can do, and it is within our control. So here are a few ideas. Again, it's not comprehensive list. These are just some of the things that we are doing, some of the things that could fit in this slide. And I would want to hear from this group of people here, what is it that y'all have done? Because it will help everybody in the room. The recording can be shared. It can help a larger group as well, whoever gets to see the recording. So let's share those ideas with as many people as possible who are in the same profession, in the same boat, right? So here are a few things that are up on screen. They say that when you can't beat them, join them, right? So that's about the first point about how to democratize content contribution. So it's important that if things are changing in the AI world, and we are being questioned on what value we bring, and are we really focused on the right things? Are we able to move the needle for the business? Why not get ahead of that? Be proactive and democratize the whole content contribution from our side. Operationalize it, in fact, make it legit proactively, because you need to own the plan. If you don't own, someone else will create a plan for you. And that's what is important. So what we try to do, at least in our team, what we've started, we have dedicated content contributor role. They are called contribution champions. They are responsible for enabling content contribution. They provide guidance to the development team, essentially product managers, to write features. They provide them sort of the required know-how, how to get started with some editorial stuff, or editor make small changes to an existing article, take baby steps so that they are able to eventually write a full-blown article, a document, and then they can even publish that. So we are helping teams around us, be it somebody from support, be it from product management, be it from dev, by having a dedicated person who can enable them. They are called enablers, content champions. And that's what we have identified as one of the roles in our team. What this has also done, freed us up from writing feature content. It may seem like feature documentation could be complex, but honestly, API documentation for a lot of areas is kind of a template. And similarly for feature, if it is a how-to that needs to be written with some why and what, if you have a template, good template, you can provide the same thing to the person who's writing the feature and have them write it by themselves. They should be able to do it with minimal guidance by that dedicated writer who's acting as a content champ. And you start small, let teams edit basic things. They can even fix bugs. Start from there. Support team receives bugs. They are able to directly go in because we have an open system using GitHub. It's easier for anybody to just come in and make changes, add a feature. You focus on high value content. That's what we are trying to do. We as a team are focusing on things that are really, really of high value. For example, it could be a new service that is being launched. We own the whole content for that. We drive the release, the content gathering, information gathering, and everything that is required to put it out in the field. If there is anything much more complex than scenarios, use cases, best practices, all of that, content that touches multiple topics, content that can impact the whole structure of the portfolio, like the table of contents and stuff. All that is handled by our team. So you really are focusing on very, very high value stuff. The basic template is provided for features, or how-tos is provided to the people who are developing the features, and they are able to contribute. So it's a win-win for both. They are unblocked to take their feature to market because they are not dependent on us for sometimes just the basic back and forth that happens. They are providing the main information and all you're doing is the editorial support. Why block them with that kind of service? Just let them publish it with your guidance. In fact, in the world of cloud, and I'm assuming most people are not producing PDFs, some may be for various reasons. In the world of cloud, nothing is wrong for long. That's what one of my managers said in my previous company, which is so true that it's possible that you will enable a product manager to publish his or her feature content. It may have a few glitches here and there. Let it be. It went out to the market. People care about accuracy to begin with. That's what customers care. You can, as a content professional, in the next semester or in the sprint that you have when you have time, go and clean up some of those things and make it look adhere to the standards. Those things are also possible. You learn about the feature as well, and you are able to keep your content of high quality. So that's the way to sort of deal with some stuff. I'll pause here just in case people have questions or ideas based on this.
Just a follow-up quick question, Akash. This is Ramya. I'm from Digital.ai, and thanks for doing this session in the first place. So in terms of data points that you shared, that were great. I just wanted to understand if you have any data points around, the cost to implement GenAI in terms of, let's say, infrastructure, the compute and GPU cost, right? That's pretty high when it comes to doing it yourself. Whether it is, I'm not just talking about content in general, but I'm talking about implementing GenAI for the products or solutions that we might be providing for our customers, right? So in terms of, let's say, compute or in general, it can be very significant in terms of how much vector DB we're going to invest in and things like that. So I just wanted to, understand if you were able to get any kind of data points on that front, so that because what I'm trying to do right now here is implement with whatever is available versus trying to look at how newly should I be asking for budget. So that's something that I'm very, very about. I'm just trying to make things happen with whatever we have, like you said, GitHub and stuff. So basically, what is your understanding? Have you had a glitch in terms of the data points that you may have collected for the infrastructure needs when you're actually implementing GenAI for your work?
So, fortunately or unfortunately, we are in a company where we provide infrastructure AI tools, and all sorts of things in Microsoft. So we didn't have to worry about it. That's the unfortunate part. I'll tell you why. Because when you are given everything on a platter, then you don't have to struggle to find out, and you don't learn enough about those things that you are asking me. We have everything in place. If I want to spin up a VM with an LLM, it's available. So things like those are already in place. We are able to utilize all those things. What we cannot do is we are not able to get manpower for some of the things where you need custom coding. You need to build a tool, or you need to build a tool chain that is required to do some of the automation. Those are the only things where you need to build a case, because everybody has an idea. Just because somebody has an idea doesn't mean that it will see the light of day. It will go through an innovation pipeline, and the best idea will survive. That's what happens. So the top idea bubbles up, and only top 2 or 3 ideas then get the funding. So those are the challenges that we face, that there are way too many ideas and only few ideas they are able to sort of bubble up.
Got it.
With regard to your question, you should be able to get through, even if you sort of do some bit of research online, and even if you go to, say, for example, Copilot or Bing, just bing.com and search, because it's able to give you some basic idea through Copilot in Bing. Or even if you use Google Gemini, I'll let you use whichever. I don't want to push for one over the other, but you can be able to get initial idea about what does it take to set things up if you are trying to do X, Y, Z. So provide a scenario, it will give you some basic idea. Then you can pick the vendor you like, whether it's Microsoft or Google, or it could be another LLM provider.
Right. Yeah. So I think that is something that we've already done in terms of all these categories that you've mentioned, in terms of whether it is information gathering, putting automation in place. We've made use of all of these things that are there already present in our infrastructure. But it's just that when we have to go a little more beyond, let's say I want to build my own LLM, and what kind of, I mean, that also we can do with GitHub Copilot and a lot of other things that are open source. We even use open code to do some web coding to get things moving. But I think if we are looking at a larger way of delivering things, which probably includes, your hardware, your integration, there is storage, and then the amount that might be needed in terms of your GPUs and LLM API and all of that. Like, even if we're looking at an on-prem setup, which could be running a mid-size model, right? So that itself will cost you around 20 to 50 grand in USD, right? With initial deployment. So that is what I was going to. But with whatever we have, I think we are there already. It's just that if we have to do that take that extra step, next mile, that's where I'm hitting that hiccup. And it's not me alone. I think even the engineering folks are hitting that block, where that infrastructure, we're just trying to do that. If I can use the Indian word jugaad, to make to make do stuff with whatever infrastructure we have already. It could be our AWS marketplace, or all of these things that you mentioned. But if we have to do that extra and make it a lot more repetitive, and we hit that, especially the let's say a recurring infrastructure OPEX, which could be in few grands per year. So that part of it is a blocker right now. So that's why I was just trying to understand if there's something that you guys know, or you've hit that.
Yeah, I think, in some cases, in which you already have sort of hinted at, you may be able to get free credits for things that you are starting, but that will be only for prototypes. The moment you hit a significant number where you have enough users, and now the workload has overall gone up, you will hit a point that you will have to start purchasing, and that's when things get expensive. But here's the advantage. If you can use the free stuff to build a business case that it works and if you are working in a company that has decent budget, you will be able to build a business case to say it's worth it. It's worth the investment. That's what it is, because you are able to save maybe on vendors, you are able to save on contractors, you will be able to save on those areas. So you'll have to look at the business holistically. In fact, that's one of the things I am going to talk about as well in a few minutes. And I'm seeing, just to make sure, thanks for the question, by the way, because I'm seeing other questions in the chat. I want to make sure I answer those as well. So one of the questions that I'm seeing is from Ritu.
Sorry, Akash.
Akash,
Sorry,
in
Akash.
the interest of time, should we take the questions at the end?
Okay, perfect. Sorry, Ritu. I'm gonna move to my next slide. So yeah. Okay, just wanted to make sure that I cover the other points as well. The other important thing that senior leaders care in the current context, right, is obviously whether you're using AI, and which I think was one of the questions, whether you're using AI or any other automation tool to automate some of the mundane tasks, because that can improve productivity. They are looking at that. That's very, very important. And in fact, even we would want to showcase that. So you need to find those opportunities. It could be like automating the entire CI/CD build process, right? Where you just press a button and the content for multiple versions. It could be for different OSs or stuff in different repos. They get published with just that click of a button through automated script or some such thing, right? And the most important thing is productivity is one thing, but then actual savings where you can show dollars saved, that will always be a big one. So think of how you can show, that will be another thing that you need to show tangible savings somewhere. Similar to automation, but then this is much more real. In this case, you are thinking about not just improving productivity, but showing actual dollars saved for your company. For example, there could be licenses used for certain tools that check grammar and style guide and create images and all of that. Maybe with AI, you can eliminate all of those recurring licenses, and it could be savings that can be shown. But that's what senior leaders are going to be asking for. So contract writers was another thing that I was mentioning for content maintenance or reviews. You can use AI to replace some of that or reduce the funding for some of the contractors. So that's another way to look at it. By the way, so far what we've been discussing is very tactical. Right now, just I want to shine a light on something that's little more strategic in nature, which requires us to step back and look at the entire business holistically, and that's very, very important.
After that,
And it's important because your skills are primarily valuable in the context of business. What you do today is valuable in the context of business. Therefore, it's important, and that's what I said, to know thy business. So the next slide, sort of, this gives you more like a high level view of the typical business departments that are there in most companies. And you may think that documentation department should have been here, but not all companies have a dedicated content documentation department, right? Sometimes we are part of R&D or support or training. So that's the reason I've intentionally not put that up here in this slide. Why are we discussing this? I have this slide is more to sort of understanding and rather making it more like, can we intentionally understand our business, the business flows in our organization? Because if you know that, you will get to see and appreciate how these teams, these departments are using technical content within their workflow. In fact, that can help you gauge how much they value tech docs. And you will be able to use their metrics to showcase your value. Because sometimes we are trying to collect our own metrics. And that's not always possible. You are not able to get measurable data all the time. But can you sort of use somebody else's metrics to say, my tech doc was used there. So if that is valuable there, I'm going to use all those metrics and make it part of my report and show that value. So let's look at that here. So this gives you sort of a view of how various departments use technical documentation. And this is a no-brainer. Most of you may be aware of this. If not, look at the screen. You may be able to give more other examples as well. I'll pause here just so that you can read through this and see what are the different things that various departments do. One example, and that most people will be aware of, is obviously training. They use our content. They use our how-to guides. They use our conceptual information and build their training plan or their curriculum to enable customers, partners, internal employees. That regularly happens. But beyond that, there are many other teams that are using it. And that's what I've put up on screen. Like I said, I'll pause for a minute. You all can see it. And if there is anything that you think that you have seen in your organization, in a department, please feel free to put in the chat. Like I said, this is going to benefit this community, all of us. Okay. With that, let's look at how valuable technical content is from their perspective in terms of numbers. Just some data points. So as you can see here, there is 20% faster time to market with clear documentation for new features. This is valuable to marketing and product management teams. There's 30% reduction in support tickets on an average. Different teams, different companies have different numbers, but this is based on the surveys that I and the research that I was doing. 30% reduction in support tickets. Now, this is valuable to support teams. 46% of global organizations state that clear documentation is key to building trust in systems and accelerating the most important thing, adoption. Adoption, there are companies focused on adoption. I know Nibu is here. He was mentioning a few things in the chat, but adoption is a sort of a large beast in itself. There are teams, there are companies dedicated to ensuring that people adopt a product, right? So imagine that through TechDocs, we are able to increase the adoption. And this is valuable to professional services teams, training teams, and many other teams that are engaging with customers regularly. Next up is 70% buyers, they consider clear technical documentation as being essential for purchase decision. This is clearly valuable to sales team because they use our data, they use our content to clarify doubts, to answer questions that many times people have. In fact, recently I was talking to one of my sales guys at Microsoft, and he said he's so techie that he's using MCP server to get answers from Learn Content, Microsoft Learn Content. He has set up his own server. He's able to get custom content when somebody's asking a question, and he's during a sale that he's doing in the boardroom. He's able to get quick answers and able to provide this initial brief clarifications to the customers. So, well, these are very generic departments, right? However, each company has certain unique departments. You can explore what they do with technical documentation, and that's what is important. I have provided just a very high-level summary of what most companies have. But you need to dig deeper into your own company and understand the end-to-end workflow of your own organization, what's happening in which groups, which company. I'll give you an example. In the previous company where I was working, we had a cloud adoption team for our SaaS product. Their job was to onboard users to our SaaS product after the sale was made, because that's what they would be the sales team would hand over the client to them, and their job would be to onboard the client to our SaaS product. They were using our content. They were using our docs and videos to create day one, week one, month one training videos. Actually, this helped me prioritize freshness and accuracy of those docs and videos. I knew that these are the things that are being used, so I prioritized it. Also, what it did was I could gather data on how many users were being onboarded. That became my data point, using their using our content essentially, whatever that team was doing, and I could also get insights on what dollar impact it had on business, because I could tell that, hey, this particular client was onboarded and they had signed a deal for $10,000, the other one for maybe $500,000, or so on and so forth. That became the data point to say they all used content to onboard them. So that is what you can use to showcase value. You use somebody else's metric in your own report because it is all valid. It was your content that was used by them. So now that you understand the landscape, let's look at whether you can play a role in these teams and build your careers there, right? Because the interesting part is in some of these teams, they treat content as product. Example, training team, they sell curriculum and certification using content. For them, content is a product that they sell. That's the main thing. There's tangible value and data on how content is used to enable customers and partners. In fact, enablement itself is an industry. There are companies dedicated and they do just enablement. Seismic and many others are in that business. So you can actually be part of enablement team where you are using content and putting it all together as a program manager for partners. You can do that. Marketing team, they use technical messaging through blogs and generate leads. That also is significant data and it is very valuable to activate the product. Sales team, they use content to clarify, as I already mentioned, and enable resellers. Because whatever the sales team does, they want the same playbook to be used by the resellers and reach out to more customers and scale the business. Support uses knowledge base to deflect cases. So I've just tried to highlight all the keywords on this slide just to give you a sense of where you can play a role and grow in these teams. If you decide to sort of say, hey, you know what? It's not just tech docs or just in content that I can play a role. Maybe I can look at other groups where I will be able to play a significant role. In fact, the advantage would be that there it will be the main ingredient. In some cases, many times I feel that content is within R&D, content is seen more like salt. It is visible or rather not visible. If people complain only when it is not there. When it is there, it's a given. And it is taken for granted. So that's a difference in these teams. Many times the content is the main ingredient of that dish. So that's I had. And finally, I will leave you with this slide beyond where you can play a role and grow in your career. The next slide is sort of gives you or showcases that AI is not just killing jobs, but is actually going to create many new types of jobs. And here's a sort of a laundry list of them. In fact, the one which is missing here is also the forward deployment engineers, where enablement is becoming a significant thing. For the next, I don't know how many, a year or 2 or 3, there will be a significant push on skilling and learning because a lot of teams and companies, they want to use AI because that's become the biggest buzzword, but they don't know where to start, what to do, how to use it. So people who are in the business of skilling and enablement are the ones out there in the field, customizing things for people, teaching them the skills, helping people adopt AI. Those jobs are going to be in plenty for the next foreseeable future for at least few years. So with that, I come to the Q&A.
I think there are quite a lot of questions on chat, Akash.
Yes. So if you want to call out any that has maximum likes or something, that we can start with that because I have not paid attention to all, but if there's something that jumps out, otherwise I can start reading.
I think Nibu has a lot of points to add. Nibu, do you want to unmute and go ahead?
Yeah, Nibu, we can take your first, and then I know I promised Ritu I'll answer her question. I can jump to hers as well.
Yeah, it's not really a question. I was just making a point saying that, okay, so we are always looking at AI solutions and how to use AI. But look at what the others have already created. Look at what is already present in the market. What you can simply start using. You don't have to recreate the wheel. Thinking, okay, what can I use AI for? Look at what others have used AI and have already built solutions.
True. Yeah, which is true. And there are enough and more examples. Now, with vibe coding, you are able to build what you want to build. You are able to replicate what somebody else has built. It is not all that difficult. I can answer Ritu's question and I will jump to Sanjeev. I know, Sanjeev, your hand is up. So, Ritu, I know you had a question which was around democratizing content and what was the pushback by teams that were not originally from content teams. Is that the question that you had? So yes, it was not easy to convince somebody else that, hey, do my job. By the way, we did not want them to do our job. That was the point. But look at it this way. If you were to open a shop which sells content, different types of content, it has how to guide, it has overviews, it has best practices, it has use cases, and it has cross-service scenario content. What do you think will be priced high? What will sell first? We know the answer, right? But what do we prioritize? How-to features, because one, that comes with a title called urgent, date. The rest is like, yeah, people are asking for it, but we will put in the backlog. It's very, very important, yes, but it is not urgent. The feature has a date attached to it. So let's just prioritize that. So how-to goes first. The procedures are sent out first. And we are never able to get to those important things that customers are regularly asking. They're saying, you are shipping your org chart, you are just shipping silos, and I have to do the hard work of figuring out how this product connects with the other one and how the whole thing works. Because I don't buy your one product, I tend to buy the whole solution. And now I'm stuck. I have to figure out how to pay a consultant to make it work for me. So how do we work on such complex things? Because that will also help us gain skills if we work on those complex things. So we had to tell these teams that, hey, here are the list of customer asks, and these are all high value. We are just not able to get to it. And it is not for my resume that I'm doing this. It is for our product that we are building this. Solution includes code and documentation that has to be shipped outside. What should we do? Should we help our customers or not? I can help you. Today, AI is available. You will be able to write and write well. We will give you a person who will walk you through the whole process, and your content will look decent enough for somebody to consume. They will be fine. But here's the other thing, which is more complex to build. It is in multiple heads. It needs to be put together by coordinating as a program manager with multiple teams, multiple people, and assessing customer signals, community signals. And that's when it needs to be built. It's hard work. It's not going to be done by AI. And that is the kind of work that you would want to prioritize and focus on. Once you have that conversation, the other party understands. If they still don't understand, then you say, by the way, I have limited number of people, and here are all the asks that have come and requests that have come. Quite likely, I may just say, I will not be able to service you. You are in the self-service mode. Is that okay? Or do you want to at least take your stuff to market with some guidance? You choose. I will not say no. I am giving you options. You know what they'll choose. So it's all about negotiating, convincing, because that's one of the things that as we are growing in our careers, as leaders, particularly in this room, we will have to learn that. How to negotiate. You don't say no. That's what I've learned. People do not like no. You just give them options. They will choose the one that you want to. So
Thank you.
with that, Sanjeev. Yeah, sure. Thanks. Sanjeev, you had a question.
No, not really a question, but I wanted to add to what you have already expressed. Good perspectives, but on the aspect of remaining relevant, I have 3 pointers there. First one is, as TechDocs team, instead of selling content, we should sell accountability. Well, there are companies which can get into legal issues if the content is incorrect, and they cannot sue an AI system if that is the case. So they still need documentation team, they still need writers to validate and ensure that the content is accurate. So sell that accountability. Number 2 is, as humans, we need humans to remain humans. What I mean to say is any role that involves human-to-human interaction or that is valued is going to stay relevant. So you gave example of alternate teams where tech writers can position themselves. Training is a great example, and training, in-person training, is not going to go away as such. Well, there will be AI-generated training materials, but you still can have a place there. The last but not the least is something I call a double-sided sword, where we call that with AI, you can do more with less. Why it is double-sided sword? Because the management will say, if you can do more with less, we will keep less. Why do we need more people? Well, in that case, you have to showcase that with the increase in productivity, the time saving you are getting, what more you are able to deliver. A lame example could be the time required to write documents is less. So you are spending that time to creating, let's say, videos. But think on those lines where you can showcase that you have started to do a lot more with the same amount of resources, which is a value add. So yeah, my 2 cents there, rather 3, I guess.
No, that's very good. In fact, I'll just extend the last one a little more, that you can showcase that how you are able to now assess customer signals. You are able to see competitive data, because many times you want to make your plan, your content plan, based on data and not just based on whatever feature is landing on your plate. You have spoken to people who are using your product. You have interaction with the user, or at least monitor communities. You work with all the customer facing teams, gather insights from all of them. Things that are overlapping will automatically bubble up. And then you create a plan based on that and say, this is driven based on the signals we are receiving. And that also takes time and effort, which you don't have if you are just busy with the treadmill of features.
Yeah, Akash, just a quick point. So you had given the circle with all the different departments with whom we can work. Could you give us some examples of what your team has started doing with those departments?
Yes, so training is one great example where we work with the worldwide learning team within our groups to make sure that we share content with them. Wherever we do not have to create the training modules, we will not. But at the same time, we work with them to make sure that one, we understand from our users and product managers the signal that I was talking about, that what is the business value that we want to deliver. And if somebody says that, hey, we are pushing for a new type of certification and we want you to build it, we are able to build portion of it with our tech doc, and then rest work partner with the learning team to say, you know what, you build the rest of the infrastructure for it and take it to market, because we won't be able to do it on our own. But then they do not have the connection with the dev team, which we have. So we are able to give them that base content. I see
Thanks,
Nibu's
Akash.
hand up.
I think Nibu wants to say something. Yeah.
Yeah. So Akash, so my question is about ROI. Many companies have invested a lot into AI, and they're asking what is the, and it's not cheap, right? Especially the enterprise licenses. So they're asking for ROI. But my question is, if you haven't put in these systems to measure the impact of work, you don't really know how your folks are using AI and what are the outcomes. You haven't put in the measurement in place. How would you show ROI?
I think that's a very different problem, in the sense it is more about what do you want to measure, right? So first that has to be decided and agreed upon by people, or at least the senior leaders. And here's what we are going to measure for everybody. Do you want to measure just the awareness of AI? Do you want to measure the productivity gains from AI? Do you want to measure that the quality of work that is being produced by people? What is it that you want to measure? Because sometimes we tend to measure the wrong things as well, like page views. Page views doesn't tell you the quality of the content, right, in any way. It just shows that there is interest in this particular topic. Thousands of people are coming here. Is that topic good? Nobody knows that. So I think the measurement, identifying the right measurement, what should we measure, is very critical discussion. And based on then you can decide whether AI is going to give you that value or not. So I think it's more about that.
So see, when we say ROI, they are looking at it in terms of investment, right? So in terms of monetary gains. So I have spent so much. How much more can you give me? So whatever we are measuring, eventually it has to translate into a financial metric.
Yes.
Then only it is going to make sense. So my point is, how do you even measure things where you haven't really put in the systems to do the measurement? Let's say you're saving time, right? How much of time are you actually saving? If you don't know where you started from, how are you exactly calculating what is the improvement? Imagine you're looking at quality. We don't have a start point.
So I think you're in some ways answering it, is what I would say. You need the measure, the right measure and the baselines. So you define the measure, you define the baseline, and then say, have you moved the needle from that baseline to some level, some percentage gains? The other point is not in all cases, it may not be a financial return. It could be that, hey, earlier you were, as an example, for an API that was released, it was available in multiple languages, Java, .NET, TypeScript, and many others. But as a team, we could only publish these prioritized tier 1 languages, that is Java, .NET, and rest we could not. But now with AI, I'm able to publish the samples for all 15 languages or all 5 or whatever that number is. Now that is not a number in financial terms, but what you're able to do is you're able to serve more people. You're able to serve more audience and cater to all the needs. So that's another thing. You could get bandwidth from people and are able, now those people are able to focus on better quality. You are able to sort of cater to some of the demands that were coming in as requests from customers, especially around, which I was talking about earlier, cross-service scenarios, certain use cases, because a lot of content that we've been producing many a times, we are not able to find time to build use cases. Though we know use cases are important, people understand better when you give them examples. So things like those. So those are the kinds of things that you'll have to first define, that what we don't have today, this is my baseline. And now after 2 months, I will show you that I was able to do these 5 things. Do you agree that would be the right expectation in terms of return for your investment? If they say yes, then that's what you measure. But what if that's not what they want? So I think that's what I am kind of conflicted on. That how do we make sure that you define the right measurement first?
Okay. Thanks, Akash. So before we take the next question, I think there are a couple of questions from Rohini on chat. So before that, we're going to have more more online sessions in the last Friday of every month. And also in Feb, we plan to have an online conference in Bangalore. So then look out for more posts on LinkedIn. I will post more details on that. So a couple of questions from Rohini. The first, do you want to unmute and ask Rohini, or should I read it out?
Go for it. Rohini, if you can come off mute, feel free.
Okay, I'll just read it out. How are the UI-based applications of the big, small companies going to change in the AI age? Now we have glimpses of AI devices in the horizon, and how that's going to impact the products, in turn affect the technical writers. And then there's another question. AI, the white elephant in the room, benefits from the accurate and well-structured content. How, as doc teams, do we leverage? What kind of data points? Yeah, these are the couple of questions.
Yeah, so I can maybe start with the first one regarding the UI and how it is going to change. I think a lot of people are still experimenting with that. What people are trying to do is they are trying to make it easy and remove friction. That has been the goal of most product companies. How do you make it easy for people to consume their product and spend more time on their product if it is a social media kind of an app? But then for the regular products, can you get the work done quickly? So chat is becoming an interface through which a lot of people would want to expose the feature. They do not want things where people have to spend time to navigate and figure out and discover. So it's possible that a lot of things may become more voice assistant, that, hey, do this for me. And it will ask you that, is that what you're trying to do? Confirm. You say, yeah, that's what I want. Go ahead. So example, creating a VM on a cloud environment. You may not even want to figure out where do I go to create a resource and then set up the resource and all of that. You may just in your chat environment provide instruction on, I am a small shop. I have 2 offices and the central office is headquartered here. And we need a VM of this capacity. Here's our budget. Please create resource for us. It's possible that it will be able to spin up the right things and will give you these options. Here are the 2 or 3 options with some pricing in front of you. You just choose and hit deploy. So it will try to do those kinds of things, because now AI is becoming intelligent enough to, one, understand what you're saying, understand your use case, and then go to the system, pick things and bring it back to you. So you are essentially just interacting with that Copilot or that chat interface, which essentially is working on your behalf. It is doing the job. It's not just chat. It's not LLM. It's LAM, large action models. There are action models, there are agents where you can actually set things and it will do the things for you. You don't even have to come to the UI. You will be able to schedule things and it will do the job for you. Then what happens? Then UI is not even there. A lot of companies are experimenting with not having a phone. They are coming up with, hey, just have a glasses and then a band. You are able to just do some gestures and it's able to go to different screens. So you are reducing all those things. You are able to just talk through the interface and make phone calls. So a lot of those kinds of things are coming into the picture. Like Meta, you are able to look at a room and say, what is the height of this room? You did not do any kind of clicking anywhere. You had to just look from bottom to top. It measured the whole thing and it gave the answer. It's about 10 feet in height. You're done. So those kinds of interfaces are coming into the picture. They are more in the consumer space. It may not be so much in the enterprise space because that's a very complex area. There are more nuances to be taken care of. So we will see how those kinds of experiences change. The other point was about, yeah, sure. I know we are a little over by 2 minutes, but I'll try to answer the question about the white elephant. Let me see. I'm just reading that again just to be sure what it was. Yeah. AI, the white elephant in the room, benefits from the accurate and well-structured content. How as doc teams do we leverage what kind of data points? Can you clarify a little more? I just heard you.
I think, yeah, I was trying to ask, like, if we were talking about data points that can actually show our relevance, right? So when we talk about the structured content and the AI is using the content that we create, the product documentation or any content that is about the product. So how is AI using that and how do we leverage saying, okay, these are the kind of data points from the point of view of AI that we are that we can show, saying that we are being relevant and valuable. So what kind of data point from the AI perspective can we leverage? Is there something that we can do right now?
So a lot of teams, so good. I mean, it's an interesting question. So a lot of teams within our company, they are experimenting with retrievability. That is AI able to retrieve the right content based on how we structured and return it. And people are coming up with different ways to label things, structure it based on the responses they are getting. So they are even creating synthetic responses. That, hey, let's try to come up with a question based on what people have been asking in Q&A community. We will create those synthetic questions, ask AI for using our content set, whether it gives the right response, because I know what the right response is. Did AI question give me the right response? And when they do not get the right response, then they go to those articles and documentation essentially and change things there, like relabel things, restructure, break up the content, and then experiment with again and see whether the response was better. If the response is better, then they understand what are the parameters that they tweaked because they are taking it more scientifically. They've come up with very specific parameters. So based on that, they are able to say which parameters are influencing AI results and retrievability of content. So those are the things that I can say as data points where people are looking at how to make sure that AI gives people the right answers based on how we are structuring and organizing our content, modularizing it, labeling it, chunking it.
Right.
So
Thank you.
That's what it will be. Yeah.
Thanks, Akash.
Cool. We are 5 minutes over.
Yeah. I think there are a lot of comments. I think we have answered most of the questions from chat, Akash. So we will be posting the meeting recording, the session recording on our website. I'll be posting all the details on LinkedIn. So please do follow our LinkedIn page. It's posted in the chat, and please do provide your feedback. I've posted the feedback form in the chat as well. So thank you all for joining today. Have a good rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks everybody for joining on a Friday. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thanks for staying up late, Akash, and doing the session.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.